All right, everyone, welcome back into another props video. Give me a touch on the top prop bets today on both PrizePicks and Underdog. We got a jam-packed slate. It's Saturday. We got some college basketball, we got some NBA, we got some NFL. A few of the best props that we are currently getting are actually PGA and NHL props, and I actually want to start out with those two sports. Stay with me here, though, guys, because we're going to be touching on it all. And so, yes, right away, I want to start out with the 9 to 5 golf prop sheet here, calling out Rickie Fowler and Jason Day. There should really never be a stroke difference for golf between the two sites. To me, it's one of the easiest sports to project, and so when there's a big difference like this, that's pretty crazy. That's something you want to jump on. And so obviously on PrizePicks you can bet just these two to go under their strokes, and that'll work out. But on the flip side of it, for Underdog, you have to find another bet to place with it, because you can't use two of the same lines together. And that to me is where Underdog has kind of killed their product a little bit, golf wise, because obviously we'd just be hammering these two home, but that's also why they did that. For what it's worth, if you wanted to pair these two up where you're betting the higher on Underdog for those two, Patrick Cantlay at 7 birdies, it's very difficult to imagine him getting over that. I do think there's a strong chance that it could be a push. But just keep these two in mind when we're going through the prop sheet, especially Underdog wise. If I call out any props that you may like for Underdog, you want to use one of those two with that, by all means go for it. The data says on paper those are much better prop bets on Underdog. The thing with it is, for PGA, they're playing on 3 different courses this week, and so Jason Day is going to be playing on the more difficult of the 3 courses. Okay, so that's why I think the data likes him to get the over there. And then we look at Rickie as well. Rickie is also playing on that more difficult track as well, and kind of in quotes, I mean, they're all pretty easy. They're all 3 of the easiest courses that these golfers play on the PGA Tour each season, but all in all, definitely a projected edge there. And then lastly, getting to the hockey prop that was really standing out to me, that's going to be Brad for over 2.5 shots on goal. Not only is it a 54.46% chance to hit, he's also projected to get 3.1. You know, double kind of validation there, if you will, where the data is telling us, or the average sportsbook line is telling us to bet the over, as well as the projection data. That is something that I like to see. So right off the bat, we are getting some pretty good prop bets. I've already paired Brad with those two props on PrizePicks with Jason Day and Rickie Fowler. Obviously don't like that as much. Better bet on the Underdog, and I've already done that as well. And with that, let's actually just jump into NBA real quick. And I say real quick because there's a lot of injury news that we are waiting on. We probably won't get all of it, all the news that we need in this video to give you guys educated decisions. But let's just look over the report that we are getting right now. So we got the Bucks. They're going to be healthy. Giannis sat out the last game going against Detroit. They should be able to crush. I mean, Brooks should go off. Giannis should go off, especially with Isaiah Stewart also sitting for Detroit. Maybe Mike Muscala, newly acquired Mike Muscala, gets some run in this game. I doubt it, but we'll see. Kevin Knox could be starting for Detroit. That's not a big mover on all. And so by now, you guys probably realize this. I've been hyping up Jay and Ivy a bunch. Like, I still feel like his prop lines are a little bit too low, but this isn't exactly one that I feel like we need to be going out of our way to target. The market has finally adjusted. We have seen it slowly tick up each and every game. That edge that we had when Cade Cunningham went out has definitely been reduced. This would more be a bet on the game staying close, which with Giannis active, I don't really expect that to occur. Now, could it? For sure. And I will say, guys, I really, with a passion, hate the popular props. It just makes me mad. I feel like it's very misleading. It's like, oh, great. Why is it popular? Is it popular for the over? Is it popular for the under? I don't like it. And especially because yesterday I noticed that they kept this on there for like a golf prop, even though the line had been bumped. And that was like, all right, you shouldn't be doing that. So don't use that. Don't use the popular tap. And then from there, looking at some injuries, Wemby is expected back. I believe he's listed as out right now on this sheet, but I believe he's expected back. If he is, this is a good matchup for him, but it's really a good matchup just in general, the Spurs versus Washington. And I do expect Wemby to play. If he does play, if he gets those 27 minutes that he's gotten recently, he had his minutes capped at about 24 for a little bit there, but as long as he gets 27 minutes, he should be able to crush this over against Washington, which sounds weird to say, only 27 minutes, but he has proven he's a point per minute player, and Washington is a good matchup. That's a matchup that we've been wanting to target. Looking at Washington, Daniel Gafford gave us the hook by getting a concussion, I don't know, like 3 or 4 nights ago. We had a 6 for 6 slip probably. Well, there was a push in there. It would have been 5 for 5 with a push. But that hurts. That's just been how it's going. We've been going 5 for 5, 5 for 6, 4 for 5, a bunch over the past month. Only one, I think, 6-for-6 slip on the bet of the day. Now, there was a day where I was mentioning all these college basketball props that all hit, and I know a lot of people were able to take advantage of that, including yesterday with the Flex Friday slip. One of the NHL props that we were on missed. That was the only prop that missed. I know a lot of people did some pivots here and there, which was awesome to see. That's why I break down the coverage this way. So if you guys don't like a prop bet, you guys can make the proper adjustments. But looking at it this way, guys, in the Washington Spurs game, with us not getting any Daniel Gafford props, just it is tough to really gauge what we should do. I will say if Wemby sits, we're probably looking at Collins again. We're probably looking at Keldon Johnson. Keldon Johnson really did go off. I was kind of kicking myself for not including him on the bet of the day slip because that was something that I thought was an easy play. You know, we're betting on the minutes were there. And so it was a little bit unfortunate there, but all in all, good prop. Do you want to call it with Wemby's points here? PrizePicks is a little bit lower than the average sportsbook line, and also Underdog, if that's still there, that's a decent prop bet for you as well. Moving on into the next game for Philly, they're still going to be without Covington and Bo Melton. Maybe Mo Bamba's back. Looking at Charlotte, Nick Richards could be back today. We have to see on that. All in all, not going to be a spot where we want to target Charlotte's bigs. For Atlanta, Trae Young could be out. If he's out, I still think we're looking at DeJounte Murray, who's trying out for my Milwaukee Bucks, it seems. I'm just kidding. That'd be fun, though. DeAndre Hunter's still out, though. So with that, he'd be someone that we expect to have a really good game again. Again, he averages 48 fantasy points per 36 with Trae Young off the court. And last night, he got 40 minutes. Didn't exactly shoot the basketball well and was still able to get his over. Now, yes, it was a difficult matchup, but he was able to still get his over in his matchup. He got a late rebound, which pushed him over. And then he hit a 3 as well, the go-ahead 3, which then he cashed pretty easily there. It was stuck at like 0.1. He needed to get like 0.1 for like 3 or 4 minutes. I'm like, don't do this to us. Don't do this to us. And then he got a rebound, and then he made a 3. That was kind of fun. For what it's worth, if Trae Young is out, Bogdanovich, who had not the best game, you know, typically speaking, he's one that does benefit a lot with Trae Young out. And if you had told me that he was going to get 35 minutes in that game, I would have said he went off, and he didn't have a terrible game. But typically speaking, he gets that amount of shot attempts up in 24, 25 minutes. So if he gets 35 minutes again, it's a big if, but he'd be someone we would look at to have a better game. Looking at Cleveland, they're still banged up. Toronto, Jakob Poeltl's out. Jonte Porter probably going to start there. Gary Trent Jr. had himself a good game in his last game. Looking at Memphis, I still think Vince Williams, Luke Kennard, they're players we can be looking at. And another example of kind of a bad beat, I saw a lot of screenshots from people that placed their bet slips when the points, rebounds, and assists was there for Vince Williams, which by all means, it wasn't like the wrong move. But the better bet throughout the day was his fantasy score. And I too was kicking myself for not getting as much exposure to Vince Williams for over his fantasy score when it was made available. He is someone where the market doesn't or hasn't really seemed to catch up. Okay, so looking at his 23 points, rebounds, and assists, that's probably the correct line. But if you look at his per 36 production with all those players out, Bane, Clark, Rose, and Smart, he is the player that really has benefited the most. And this is not a difficult matchup like it was against Minnesota. Now, yes, a lot of his production has come from blocks and steals, but like, who cares? That is who he is as a player. Like, especially when he's getting that many minutes, we know he's going to get some blocks. We know he's going to get some steals. As long as that outweighs his turnovers, and as long as he's getting some assists, and that's been up, that's like a tall tale sign of his usage being up. Is that, and the data says this as well, he gets the biggest bump in use, but his assists are up while everyone's been out. That's a tall tale sign that his usage is up. And so all in all, a slightly better matchup than the last slate. I think we're going to be looking at him again. You know, 3 for 8, didn't exactly shoot the basketball well, but he's getting a lot of rebounds, getting a lot of assists. Maybe you want to do rebounds and assists instead, but I do think we're going to be looking at his fantasy score as a good one. For what it's worth, 11.5. I don't know if I would do that there actually for rebounds and assists. Looking at Luke Kennard, points and assists, his usage has been up as well. Points, rebounds, and assists at 21.5. Is he going to get 4 rebounds? I mean, probably not. That's why the data is suggesting the under there. And for what it's worth, guys, I am doing the NBA deep dive first in hopes that I get more college basketball props for you guys. Like the previous videos, it's pretty big edge. But yeah, looking at Luke Kennard, my only concern is that he isn't shooting the basketball as much as I would have thought, and he's not really playing as many minutes as I would have thought. So it definitely is a little bit too thin, but he is a good shooter. If he's going to get around 10 shot attempts, that should be around 10 points. You add in probably 5 assists or so. I don't mind that, but now that I'm looking at it a little bit more, probably is a little bit too thin for my liking today. So probably just Vince Williams for Memphis. And then continuing on, looking at the injury report, nothing too crazy from there. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into college basketball. I'm going to hit a data refresh on my end. Hopefully we get some more prop bets, and I'll jump into it. All right, so I did just do the data refresh on my end. We are still not getting any underdog props for fantasy score. And as you guys hopefully know, over the past couple of Saturdays, that has led to some massive edges, which have led to some pretty good days for college basketball. Like, I'm to the point where I am super excited for college basketball Saturdays because of the edges that we are getting. So all in all, like, I might wait until we get the underdog lines just to compare, because if there's a big discrepancy between the two, that's a big edge that we are getting, because we have the potential to hit some middling opportunities, and we have seen that. So all in all, might be waiting for that, but let's get into it. So we got Bello for under fantasy score. It seems like he's always popping up for the under fantasy score for whatever reason. And he is someone that, yeah, if we look at the game log, is basically right around that line every single game. And so all in all, I'm not really going to doubt the data here. I can run this out. And for the most part, guys, these have been hitting slightly above the expected rate. And what I mean by that is slightly above the edge rate. It's been about basically 2 out of 3 for the most part. Yesterday, it was the exact same thing. 2 out of 3 hit, which we'll take, right? That's a good percentage. From there, Hunter Dickinson, that's definitely one that's popping up. So the average sportsbook line would have it set at 40.5, but they would be favoring the over pretty heavily, about 53%. So at 39.5, that's a decent edge. The projection data really likes the over, about 47. That's crazy. I don't know about that. But like you look at it, he is projected to get 31.5 points, rebounds, and assists. So that really doesn't take that much more. That's probably like 1 steal and not too many turnovers. I'm guessing that this is much more of a matchup based thing, but we can see for the most part, 3 out of the 5 games he's been able to get the over. I would assume that the game against USC was maybe just a blowout. I have no idea. I could look that up, but man, it's another tab and whatnot. All in all, this is a good prop bet. I'm perfectly fine running out. Then from there, let's see what else we are getting here. So Alec Baldwin Jr. over 4.5 assists. That's a good EV bet that we are getting. We are seeing right now with Felix here for over rebounds at 7.5. Underdog has already bumped that to 8. The average sportsbook line is favoring the over at 7.8, and so that's why it's a decent edge. That's why Underdog has bumped it up to 8. So by all means, that would be a good bet if it's still there. And then let's just take a quick peek at Underdog here. Oh, interesting. So Jamal Mashburn Jr. for under 15.5 points. We can see the average sportsbook line would have it set at 14.5, so a decent edge there. I don't like these assist props where it's basically being a push. No need to target those. We can see Langston Love. Don't exactly love that the projection data doesn't like his over, but the average sportsbook line is giving him about a 50-50 to get 12.5 points, so a decent edge there for you. Let's see here. Any other ones that are really standing out? I mean, not any elite props just yet. Again, it sucks that we don't have a lot more fantasy score props from Underdog just yet. I hate having this video sound like I'm trying to sell the tool or anything like that. I just don't like doing that. But like, honestly, this is a day in which it's going to be huge, I think, like it has the last 2 Saturdays, to be checking in to see the prop line differences that we're getting most likely fantasy score between PrizePicks and Underdog for college basketball. And guys, here's another college basketball prop that's being pulled in, only about a 53.4% chance, which was basically all the prop bets percent likelihood to hit yesterday, and they hit, which again, I want to remind everyone that eventually here soon, we're going to have a bad day. This hot streak has been crazy. The props are hitting at about like an 80% rate right now. It's been a fun stretch. Don't get me wrong, but we're eventually going to have a bad day. Now, hopefully it's not today as always, but just don't be surprised when a bad day happens because we've been running too hot. But yeah, let's go ahead and get to the bet of the day here for you guys. Well, actually, real quickly, we'll take a peek at NFL as well for PrizePicks. Getting a lot of the same prop bets that were popping up earlier on in the week. Let's see here. I like Khalil Shakir for over his fantasy score. Dalton Schultz for under his fantasy score. That's been one that's popping up. I'm okay with that. Let's see here. Roquan Smith for over tackles and assists. That one's probably going to be a push. Rush attempts, Rashad White. Again, if you think the Bucks are going to lose, that's a decent one. I mean, we're getting some edges here. Aiden Hutchinson, that's a decent one for tackles and assists. Pretty good EV line there, 3.5. I don't mind that one as well. That's decent. Diggs for over 5.5 receptions, another decent one there. We're getting a lot of pretty good NFL props as well. It's like tough to decide which one we should be using because we're getting so many good ones. All right, everyone, welcome back into the bet of the day. I phrased that weird. I don't know why I phrased it that way. But looking at it, guys, I went with the 2 really good college basketball props that we were getting there. Mentioned that already. Bello for under fantasy score might be a little bit tight, but that's going to be a seemingly good one. Hunter Dickinson for over fantasy score, that's going to be a good one. And then I went with this one as well because you look at the average sportsbook line, it's at 33.5. This only has about a 53% chance to hit, but all in all, I think that's a pretty good prop bet. Do want to call it that we are probably going to get better college basketball prop bets throughout the day. Like that is going to be something that happens. And so just be on the lookout for that. And I do want to call it this one as well. I've noticed that with the NHL props, the lines have been fluctuating a little bit more recently. So if you guys are a 9-to-5 member, just double check that prop bet. Make sure it's still at about a 54% chance to hit before placing that prop bet. If you guys aren't a member, links in the description below. $10 a month gives you access to all the fantasy golf tools, some optimizers, but also the PrizePicks and Underdog cheat sheet tools. And then Khalil Shakir here, we got over 7.5 for a fantasy score, which is one that we've been on casually the past couple of weeks. most of the time it's been pulled. Last week it was pulled pretty quickly. And then Taylor Montgomery, I do want to call this one out. He's playing on the La Quinta course, the LQ course, which is the easiest of the courses this week for that tournament. And this is 5 under par for him. He is someone that is a little bit streaky. So I do think he's going to get under par. Like, this kind of stood out to me that he was like the one player of the LQ course that should go low that was still at 75 or 67.5. So I do think there's a slight edge there. Just hope he doesn't make that many bogeys. But that's going to be all for today's video. Again, make sure to give a like and subscribe. I do appreciate that. If you guys want access to the tools available at 95sports.com for just $10 a month, gives you access to the PrizePicks Underdog cheat sheet. Thank you guys for watching. Let's have a good slate. And as always, let's keep cashing.